All right, what's going on, guys? I'm Donovan Cranage here with DSTV, ready to give you my 2026 March Madness bracket. We're going to get right into the round of 64, starting with the East region from top to bottom. Number 1, Duke, 16-seeded Siena. I'm going to go Duke pretty easily there. And then we get into some matchups I'm ready to talk about. 8, Ohio State, and 9, TCU. I think it's going to be back and forth. Bruce Thornton and David Punch kind of going to give us hopefully a good start to the round of 64, but I think TCU's just a deeper team, and they get the win. Number 5 versus the number 12 Northern Iowa team. I think St. John's was heavily disrespected getting a 5 seed, especially after winning the Big East over UConn, who they gave a 2 seed to. I think Northern Iowa has a decent day, but I'm going to take St. John's. I think they're too well coached to go out this early, in my opinion. Number 4 versus 13, Kansas versus Cal Baptist. I think Dominique Daniels Jr. is certainly a threat and someone Kansas is going to have to keep or need to focus on during the majority of the game. But outside of him, Kansas should have their way. I'm not counting out Cal Baptist completely. I think they, again, have a decent day, but I'm going to give Kansas the edge here. Number 6 versus number 11, Louisville, South Florida. Seems like South Florida is pretty much consensus to upset here, and I'm on board. No Mikel Brown Jr. for Louisville. Pat Kelsey, you're going to have to wait another year to possibly add a win to that March Madness record. Number 3, Michigan State. Number 14, North Dakota State. I've seen a few people taking North Dakota, but MSU I think is too fast-paced and experienced in the coaching staff, so give me MSU pretty comfortably here. Number 7, UCLA. Number 10, UCF. Feels like, to me, UCLA has been one of the more underrated teams basically in the whole country so far this college basketball season. I'm going to take them to win over UCF and finishing out the round of 64 for the East. Number 2, UConn. Number 15, Furman. I was actually disappointed Furman drew this 15 seed because I potentially was thinking about picking them for a game. I think they're good, but I think UConn's going to have their way. Let's move on to the West region. Number 1, Arizona. Number 16, LIU. I'm going to go with Arizona here. Number 8, Villanova. Number 9, Utah State. Just talked about on the 215 Sports podcast. Unfortunately for the Philly basketball fans, I think Utah State is just flat out the better team. Villanova's a little banged up. Give me Utah State to move on. Number 5, Wisconsin. Number 12, High Point. This has been heavily discussed since the bracket came out, and this upset, even for me, was just screaming at me for the first, 2 days after the bracket came out. But Wisconsin had a very good overtime win against Illinois in the Big Ten tournament and ended the season with wins against Illinois outside of that and Michigan State. I think this team is hot. They have a very talented backcourt, and I think they're going to get the win over High Point. Number 14 versus number 13, Hawaii. This is going to be a Darius Acuff masterclass. For those who don't watch college basketball, learn the name. You're going to hear it all through the tournament, especially when Arkansas is playing. I think he'll just dominate in this game against Hawaii. Let's go with that. Number 6, BYU versus number 11, Texas. Texas barely got out against NC State. They had a last-second shot to end up winning the game. I think BYU is a much better team than Texas. I don't think Texas can hang offensively. Give me BYU to move on. Number 3, Gonzaga. Number 14, Kennesaw State. I think Graham Ike and Braden Liu could, potentially be a good matchup down there in the post, but I like the Bulldogs. I think they handle business here against Kennesaw State. Number 7, Miami. Number 10, Mizzou. I haven't been high on this Miami team at all. Credit to Jai Lucas for getting them there in his first year, but I think this is where it comes to an end. I'm going to get Missouri with the upset win over Miami. And number 2, Purdue versus 15, Queens. I'm not even going to really touch on this. I think Purdue is going to win that game. South region, number 1, Florida, and at the time of recording this, the 16th seed is still between Prairie View A&M and Lehigh. If I had to guess, it's going to be Lehigh. Either way, I think Florida gets the win. 8, Clemson, 9, Iowa. Give me Iowa. I think it's going to be a slugfest, but Iowa just edges them out under leadership from Bennett Sturts, who I believe was with Drake last year. Number 5, Vandy. Number 12, McNeese. McNeese is a very fun team, and I've seen a lot of people kind of ride that bandwagon, especially after last year's run and the win they got over Clemson as the 12 seed last year. I think they give Vandy a run for their money, but Vanderbilt is, in my opinion, better than a 5 seed, at least after the SEC tournament, and I trust them to beat McNeese. Number 4, Nebraska. Number 13, Troy. Another 13-4 upset I considered. But overall, I think we know what Nebraska is made of, which is enough to beat out Troy. They finished the regular season 6-6, but they started 20-0. I think it could really go either way, but I'm going to trust Nebraska to dig deep and get this win. Number 6, UNC. Number 11, VCU. UNC is very banged up, and VCU is coming off a dominant A10 tournament where their closest game was won by 5 points. Shout out Duquesne. They play a very fast brand of basketball and have a very, very talented 8-man rotation that I'm sure the injured Tar Heels cannot keep up with. Give me the 6-11 upset VCU to beat UNC. Another game I just talked about on the 215 Sports Show on DSTV. Number 3, Illinois, and 14, the Penn Quakers. I really wanted to pick Penn, especially after the Ivy League tournament win, maybe even 2. But they drew a very, very difficult matchup against Illinois. I think TJ Power will be a big factor. It could be a close game, but I'm going to choose Illinois to move on. Number 7, St. Mary. Number 10, Texas A&M. This is difficult, or not difficult for me because St. Mary sells me every year, and the last time I picked them, I vowed never to ever choose them again. So I'm going with Texas A&M to move on. And Houston, Idaho. I really don't know much about Idaho besides the fact that apparently they have a very nice basketball gym, but I'm going to go with Houston here. Final region of the round of 64. Number 1, Michigan. Number 16, Howard. Give me Michigan to win. Number 8, Georgia. Number 9, St. Louis. I think it'll be a very competitive game. I have my worries picking St. Louis after most would consider what they had as an early exit for them in the A10 tournament. But at the end of the day, they're very well coached with Josh Schertz. They have big-time players in Robbie Avila and Deion Brown that can take over the game at any time. And Georgia's just kind of been, inconsistent there down the stretch, which also, if you have been paying attention a little bit, you'll notice that I took all 4 9 seeds to move on to the round of 64. Number 5, Texas Tech. Number 12, Akron. I think Texas Tech is just simply too stacked for Akron to keep up with JT Toppin, Christian Anderson. And I have no 12-5 upsets, which I just know it's going to come back to bite me, but I can't comfortably take any of these 12 seeds to beat the 5 seeds because it seems like really, especially this year, these 5 seeds are stacked. And Texas Tech, St. John's, and who did I just talk to about the South region? Oh my gosh, South region. Oh, Vanderbilt, that's right. Alabama and Hofstra. This is my biggest upset. I thought going into it, it was going to be a close game when Aiden Holloway was going to play. Now it's looking like he's not. Give me the Hofstra Pride to get the 13-4 upset over the Crimson Tide. Number 6, Tennessee. Number 11, Miami of Ohio or SMU. Respect to Miami of Ohio. They had an incredible season. But whether they make it or SMU makes it, I'm going to go with Tennessee. SMU literally only made the tournament because of a half-court shot, and Miami, Ohio can't really play up to competition. Despite their incredible record, credit to them, I think Tennessee moves on against either of those teams. I have Virginia beating out Wright State, the 3 versus the 14. Kentucky, Santa Clara, 7-10. Kentucky always ruins my bracket, and I know a lot of people are rolling with Santa Clara, but you know what? I'm sticking with my gut, and I'm taking the Wildcats to move on to the round of 32. And to finish it out, number 2, Iowa State, 15, Tennessee State. Give me the Cyclones to move on. Let's move into the round of 32, East Region. You got Duke and Tennessee. I think TCU plays a decent game against Ohio State, but let's be real, this Duke team is just unreal, and they're going to have their way with TCU in the round of 32 here. Number 5, St. John's, 4, Kansas. I think this has opportunity to be one of the better games in the round of 32. But overall, I think St. John's is the better basketball team, better players, better coach. I'm taking the Red Storm to move on. Number 11, South Florida. Number 3, Michigan State. South Florida, you had a good run, beating the 6th seed in Louisville, but MSU's fast, dominant brand that they're likely going to have here against South Florida is going to be enough to get the win. And number 7, UCLA versus number 2, UConn. A great coaching matchup between Mick Cronin and Dan Hurley. I'm riding with UCLA, who I said in the round of 64, I think they're one of the most, if not the most, underrated teams in the country against the UConn team that had no answer for St. John's offense in that Big East championship. Give me UCLA to get the upset and move on to the Sweet 16. In the West region, number 1, Arizona, number 9, Utah State. I think the first half of the game is going to be back and forth, but in the second half, it's going to be all Arizona. Give me them to move on to Sweet 16. Number 5, Wisconsin, 4, Arkansas. Now, this is my prediction. Obviously, if these two teams make it, which I think they will, this will be the best game of the round of 32. This is going to be back and forth. This is where you're going to have, you're going to need your best players to come and play, and Darius Acuff is going to be the best player on the court. Give me Arkansas to move on. Number 6, BYU. Number 3, Gonzaga. I think it's a very good defensive matchup for Ike with Keba Keita, however you say his name, and Debonsa. I think is just going to go crazy on offense from an offensive perspective. this whole tournament, give me a BYU upset. And number 10, Mizzou. Number 2, Purdue. Give me Purdue. South region, number 1, Florida. Number 9, Iowa. I don't think Florida's a very good 1 seed, but I think they're good enough to get past Iowa. Number 5, Vandy. Number 4, Nebraska. This is unfortunately where I think it comes to an end for Nebraska. Vanderbilt just simply plays up to competition better than the Cornhuskers do. Number 11, VCU versus number 3, Illinois. This is my biggest upset of the tournament. I think VCU is going to continue this legendary run under first-year coach Phil Martelli Jr. with 9 new players, a dominant A-10 tournament, a win over UNC, and now a win over the 3-seeded Illinois team in what I think will be a very high-scoring game. I think VCU has the offense to keep up with Illinois and ultimately get the win. Number 10, Texas A&M versus number 2, Houston. Again, I only picked A&M because St. Mary's, I vowed to never take them again. So I'm going to pick Houston. I think Houston would beat either of them, to be fair. And the final region of the round of 32, the Midwest. Number 1, Michigan. Number 9, St. Louis. After a close first-round matchup against Georgia, this is where St. Louis's season comes to an end. I think Michigan is just the purely better team. Number 13, Hofstra versus number 5, Texas Tech. Similar to what I said for Texas Tech against Akron, I think Texas Tech has just too many big-time players for Hofstra to keep up with, I think, to get the win. Number 6, Tennessee. Number 3, Virginia. Tennessee is good enough to beat SMU or Miami, Ohio. Not good enough to beat Virginia. Number 7, Kentucky. Number 2, Iowa State. The known March Madness chokers, Kentucky Wildcats. They're going to do their thing, and they're going to exit in the round of 32 here after their game against Iowa State. All right, let's get into the Sweet 16 right here. Starting with the first 2 matchups in the East region. Number 1, Duke. And number 1, St. John's. This is a game that I think could go either way. But at the end of the day, I think Duke is the purely better team. This is arguably the best team in college basketball. St. John's, we've seen struggles throughout the season, although they ended on a high note with that Big East championship. And what I have them getting in 2 wins in the March Madness tournament, I think ends with a loss to Duke. And number 3, Michigan State. Number 7, UCLA. UCLA's Cinderella run, if that's what you would consider it, comes to an end here against a dominant Michigan State team. And we're going to have Tom Izzo returning to the Elite Eight where his season ended last year. Heading over to the West region, number 1, Arizona versus number 4, Arkansas. I think Arkansas is good enough to keep with any team. Unfortunately, I think Arizona has the best offense in the league, one of the best backcourts in the league, if not the best. I think they're going to just slightly beat out Arkansas here. Number 6, BYU versus number 2, Purdue. Similar to the Gonzaga game, I think DeBonsa does his thing. And the other known March Madness chokers, the Purdue Boilermakers, choke in the Sweet 16 to the number 6-seeded BYU Cougars. Almost forgot their name for a second. The South region. Number 1, Florida. Number 5, Vanderbilt. I think Florida is the weakest 1 seed. I don't think that's much of a question. And I also think Houston, who's the 2 seed in their region, is a better team than them. Then he knocked them off in the SEC tournament in dominant fashion, too, I will add. I think they do it again, maybe not as dominant. I think they get a second straight win over Florida, knock off the first 1 seed of the tournament. And number 11, VCU. Number 2, Houston. I think this is where we see VCU's magic run out against a very, very good Houston team. In the Midwest, number 1, Michigan. Number 5, Texas Tech. This is a Texas Tech team that has the star power to keep up with Michigan, but I think they're barely going to fall short. And I have my third 1 seed moving on to the Elite Eight. Number 3, Virginia. Number 2, Iowa State. I honestly don't think this is going to be as good as a game as we expect from a 2 and a 3 seed. Maybe a little bit of a slugfest. I think Iowa State, who's been elite all year, catches a somewhat comfortable win over Virginia. Moving on to the Elite Eight. Number 1, Duke. Number 3, Michigan State. I feel like these guys are always matched up in the same region. This could be matchup of the Elite Eight. 2 high-powered teams with high-scoring offenses. I'm going to give the slight edge to Duke, honestly. But with how they play in big games in the month of March, it could go either way. Number 1, Arizona. Number 6, BYU. Arizona's offense is just too much for BYU to handle. And this ends BYU's Cinderella run, if that's what you consider it. Number 5, Vandy. Number 2, Houston. As I said previously, I think Houston is the best team in the South region, and they're going to confirm that here with a win over the SEC runner-ups in Vanderbilt. And the final team I have making it to the Final Four, it's number 1, Michigan, and number 2, Iowa State. I think it could go either way, but Iowa State plays better team basketball. If you shut down Yaxel Lendenborg, I think that's just where Michigan crumbles, and if it comes down to a close game, I'm going to trust Iowa State to pull that out and move on to the Final Four. So my Final Four teams from the East region, Duke; from the West region, Arizona; from the South region, Houston; and the Midwest region, I have Iowa State. Duke versus Houston, the East versus the South. It is a rematch of last year's Final Four where Houston won. But I think Cam Boozer is just going to be too much to handle. And this is, I think, where Duke's dominant defense, which I haven't really talked about, I think this is really where it comes to show and shuts down Houston to earn a spot in the championship game. And Iowa State versus Arizona. At this point, Arizona would be going into this matchup winning 13 in a row. And I don't think it stops here. I think the best backcourt duo in the country gets it done over Iowa State to meet the Duke Blue Devils in the championship game. Number 1, Duke from the East. Number 1, Arizona from the West. And I've talked about it before. You can never trust Duke going into March. And I think Arizona has the best offense in the country. I think the Arizona Wildcats will be your 2025-2026 college basketball champions, beating Duke in the final game of the season. Thank you so much for watching. From DSTV, I'm Donovan Cranage.